Start. Hello, Bridges sir. Hello, Bridges sir. Can we start?
We have to stop?
I'm asking, can we start now?
Yes, please start.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Those who have joined this webinar, I welcome you all in webinar organized by Electrical Engineering Department, Parul Institute of Engineering and Technology on high voltage testing of electrical apparatus. Today we are having with us Mr. Anil Sopkar sir, who is working as Senior Manager and Head in PETE2 Division at Electrical Research and Development Association, EDA. Let me give you a brief introduction of Anil sir. Sir did his graduation from MS University of Vadodara in 1994. He joined EDA in 95, and ever since he is associated with this institute. He is having vast experience of 25 years working in this field of high voltage testing, like impulse testing on different electrical apparatus like power transformer, etc. You all will be able to learn about and know about high voltage testing in detail through this session. We will have a question answer session at the end. So if you want to ask any question, you can send WhatsApp message on number 9978 559436. Again, I'm repeating, if you have any query, you can send your query on WhatsApp message on number 9978 559436. So, without wasting much time, I'm handing over this session to Anil sir. Sir, you can start.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me thank management of of Parul University and Mr. Ishan Desai for giving me this opportunity and speaking through webinar on the subject of high voltage testing on electrical apparatus. Just a minute, let me first share my screen. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. So, dear students, let us start with high voltage testing of electrical apparatus. This high voltage testing is nothing but is a testing of basically insulation. So, whatever insulation provided in the electrical equipment, it has to be tested. And to check the capability of insulation or quality of the insulation which is provided in any electrical product, like say it is a transformer or maybe it's a reactor or maybe breaker or motor, whatever electrical equipments are there. If we wish to check the insulation, then we'll have to perform certain high voltage test. And high voltage test is nothing but it is the checking the capability of the insulation level or quality of the insulation level.
Sir, sorry, can you just click on hide on that strip so that it will be removed?
Which one, sir?
Just at the bottom there is a strip. Yeah. So you can click on hide. The option is hide. Hide is there.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we were talking that insulation, to check the insulation, quality of the insulation, we need to perform the high voltage testing. Now, why these high voltage testing are required? Because as you know, all the electrical power system is divided into basic four parts like generation, distribution, transmission, and utilization. And the voltage level of all these are almost different. always different. Transmission voltage is very high and distribution level is 11, 22 kV or 33 kV. Whereas generation is again at 11 kV, but transmission we do it at 132 kV or 66 kV or maybe 400 kV, and now in India we are doing at 1200 kV. So every stage we require the change of voltage, and change of voltage when we do, we require the substations, and in the substation we require lots of equipment of that high voltage rating. Now, if we wanted to check the quality or insulation provided in those equipment, we'll have to perform the certain test. And for that, that is why we need the high voltage testing. Now, as I told you that high voltage testing is nothing but is the testing of insulation. So first we should know what type of insulations are used in the electrical products. So basically whatever insulation we are providing in the electrical apparatus, those are categorized in three, that is gaseous insulation, some insulation are liquid and solid. We are using this any one of the insulation or sometimes the two types of hybrid insulation we are using in the electrical products. So gaseous insulation, the best example of the gaseous insulation are the air. Air is the insulating medium and it can be used as a insulation. If you see the air circuit breaker there, air is the act as an insulation medium. Then SF6 gas. So SF6 gas is widely used. You all know the why. What is the reason to use the SF6 gas as an insulating media? Because it has having excellent characteristics of insulation. So that's why we are using SF6 gas, and SF6 gas is using in sometimes a transformer also we are using, or popularly circuit breakers. SF6 gas based circuit breakers are used in the power system. If we talk about the liquid insulation, then insulating oil, the mineral oil, and all we are using as an insulating media. You can see in the transformer, that oil cooled transformer, we use the insulating oil as an insulating media. This insulating oil in the transformer having one more use, that is for as a cooling media also we are using in the transformer. So liquid insulation, that is insulating oil, we are using in majority of the electrical products. If we talk about the solid insulation, then solid insulation, that are paper, pressboard, porcelain, polymer, mica, plastic, etc. can be used as a solid insulation. And these all insulation we are using in the transformer or various electrical products as and when required or as per our requirement. This insulation system, basically, if we talk about the high voltage, then this insulation, any insulation system is divided into the two categories. That is self-restoring type insulation and another is the non-self-restoring type insulation. The meaning is self-restoring type insulation means if you are the high voltage, you study the high voltage, then disruptive discharge. Whenever we apply some high voltages or when the voltage exceeds more than the breakdown value of the particular object, then there is a disruptive discharge will occur. So if there is a disruptive discharge occur in the insulating media, and after disruptive discharge, if the insulating media will regain its original property, then it is called as a self-restoring type insulation. The other hand, if after disruptive discharge, the insulating media loses its original property, dielectric property, then it is called as a non-self-restoring type insulating media. It completely lose or otherwise partially lose, but if such type of material is there, then it is called as a non-self-restoring type insulation. The example of self-restoring type insulation is the air or SF6 gas. Similarly, for non-self-restoring type, any solid material is there. So after disruptive discharge, it will lose its original property. So these are the difference between the self-restoring type insulation and non-self-restoring type insulation, which is widely used while designing the high voltage equipments. Now, why we do the high voltage testing? Because whenever we install any electrical equipment, say power transformer or circuit breaker in the system, at that time there are chances of over voltage in the power system. Now these over voltages which occurs in the power system, it is divided into the basically two part it is divided. One is the internally generated over voltage and second is the externally generated over voltage. Now internally generated over voltages means system itself generate the internal over voltages, whereas externally generated system over voltages means external source will create a over voltage in the power system. So basically this over voltage in the power system are divided into two categories. We'll see how this will internally generated over voltages. Again, it is divided into the two part, that is the temporary over voltage, and second one, that is the switching over voltage. So temporary over voltages are there for maybe for few seconds, like 30-40 seconds, and it is due to the suddenly we switch on or switch off the light load, then such type of over voltages are generated in the power system. On the other hand, switching over voltage means whenever there is a heavy load, we suddenly switch on or switched off. At that time, such type of over voltages are generated in the power system. So that is, these are all called as the switching over voltages. These switching over voltages may be for the milliseconds, but it will appear in the power system. If we talk about the externally generated over voltage, then there is only one cause, that is the lightning over voltages. And due to these lightning over voltages, the over voltages are arising in the power system. Clear? Now, we have to very much clear that whenever we are installing or any electrical equipments are there or any electrical apparatus, whether it is insulator or bushing or transformer or circuit breaker or current transformer, potential transformer, what are these high voltage equipments are there or any electrical, it has to be withstand these over voltages, such type of over voltages which are generated in the power system. It is apart from the rated voltage. So let's say it's a 11 kV product, then 11 kV continuous over voltage will be there on the power on the that particular apparatus. But there are chances that such type of temporary over voltages or switching surges or maybe lightning surges are appear on that particular equipment. Now temporary, as I said, temporary over voltages may be arises for the few seconds, like 30 seconds, 50, 40 seconds. Switching over voltages may arises for some few milliseconds, like 5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. Similarly, lightning surges may be arises in the system for the microsecond. The duration of the lightning surges are microsecond. So these microsecond phenomena or millisecond phenomena or few seconds phenomena of over voltages should be withstand by the electrical equipment. It should not happen that in the once in a while there is a lightning strikes and transformer gets failed, or maybe switching surges arises once in a year and the transformer gets failed, or transformer are not capable to withstand the over voltages, temporary over voltages. It should not happen. So all the electrical apparatus should able to withstand such type of over voltage phenomena which is occurs in the power system, maybe due to switching phenomena or maybe lightning phenomena. And as I said, this over voltages or testing, high voltage testing is a testing of insulation only. So directly the insulation design or whatever insulation provided in the electrical apparatus should be capable to withstand the over voltage phenomena. Now this insulation may be self-restoring type insulation or non-self-restoring type insulation. If it is non-self-restoring type insulation, that means it has to withstand the over voltage. If it is the non-self-restoring, means it has to withstand the voltage. If it is self-restoring type insulation, means there are chances if there is flashover, then again it will regain its original property. So while designing high voltage equipment, we need to concentrate on the types of over voltages arises in the power system, how critical it is, where we are installing the equipment, and what type of insulation we are providing, what is the thickness of the insulation or type of insulation we are providing. That has to be taken care by the designer of the electrical apparatus. Further, if we see in India, or maybe majority of the countries, this is the way we of the rating of the voltages, like 11 kV, 33 kV, 66 kV, 132 kV, 220 and 400. Further, there is a 765 kV system is there and 1200 kV system is there. And always the rating of the equipments are given in two ways, like a nominal system voltage and maximum system voltage. So Normally, maximum system voltage is 10% higher than the nominal system voltage. So you can see here the row 1 that nominal system voltage is 11 kV and maximum system voltage for the 11 kV is 12 kV. Similarly, for 33 kV, it is 36 kV, is 10% higher than the nominal system voltage. 66 kV, then 72.5. For 132, 145, and 220, it is 245. But in case of 400 kV and 765 kV, I have not mentioned here, but from 400 onwards, it is 5%, not 10%. And this is economy point of view. It has been considered that above 400 kV or 400 kV onwards, the maximum system voltage is considered 5%, not 10%. Because if we here also we keep the same ratio, then the insulation system of 400 kV we should design for 440, and the gap of 20 kV is, if we keep, looks like a marginal only 20 kV, but when we design the 400 kV power transformer which is having the maximum system voltage of 420, and if we design the power transformer which is having the maximum system voltage of 440, then the cost of the transformer may be more than 50% higher than the original cost. And this is the why the economy point of view, 400 kV onwards, the nominal system voltage and maximum system voltage having the difference of only 5%. I am on slide number 8. I hope you all are at slide number 8 and I am clearly audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. One more parameter regarding the high voltage testing. When we talk about the high voltage testing, and high voltage testing are done, it depends on the rated voltage or highest system voltage, IS or IEC. IS means Indian Standard, which is prepared by the Bureau of Indian Standard, and Bureau of Indian Standard having the various members in the Bureau of Indian Standard Committee from the various area and experts. So the members from the various industries are there, various utilities are there, and like us from the testing laboratory. I am also a member of 4-5 BIS Technical Committee. The basic role of this BIS Technical Committee is formulation of the standards. The meaning is I am telling that this table I have taken from the IS only, and that's why I am telling this. So this standard has been defined. This table has been defined in the Indian Standard. If we talk about the international, then IEC is there. So International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC standard. It is also some international members are there from the various countries, and they derive and they design the standard based on the requirements, based on our application, and based on the experimentation also. So here if we talk about this table, so let us take the example of 12 kV. As I told, if the rated voltage is 11 kV, and for that the highest system voltage is 12 kV. So if any product is of this voltage, then the test voltage should be 28 kV for the power frequency voltage. The meaning is that power frequency voltages are done to check the capability of equipment against the temporary over voltages. So to check that, we'll have to perform the test at 28 kV. It is, the product may be anything. Here, product may be transformer or maybe insulator or circuit breaker, whatever product is there. Then we'll have to perform the 1 minute power frequency test at 28 kV if the product rating is 12 kV or 11 kV. Similarly, to check the withstand capability against the surge voltages. Surge voltages means either switching surges or maybe lightning surges. So to check the lightning surges, withstand capability against lightning surges, we have to perform the test at either 60 kV, 75 kV or 95 kV. Now please remember that now people or utility or user always prefer this highest voltage, this 95 kV. So what I mean, if the product is 12 kV, power frequency voltage is 28 kV and impulse voltage is 95 kV. So If we take for the one more example, that's 24 kV. So if the product is of 24 kV, then the 1 minute power frequency test which we carry out to check the 1 minute withstand capability, it has to be carried out at 50 kV. Similarly, the lightning impulse to check the withstand capability against surge voltages it has to be carried out at either 95, 125 or 145. As I said, user always select the highest voltage. So here the people use 145 kV. Clear? So this table I have shown here to, based on this only, we select the high voltage test voltage for the high voltage products. Depends on the voltage rating. Now, this table is given, whatever insulation level is given here, that is considering the standard atmospheric condition. The meaning is, what is standard atmospheric condition? Whatever this 28 kV or 95 kV or 50 kV, 145 kV mentioned in this table, it is based on the standard atmospheric condition. Now, standard atmospheric condition, in India, we carry standard atmospheric condition. There are three parameters. One is the temperature, second is the atmospheric pressure, and third one is the humidity. So in India, since I have taken this from IS, so this all over whatever the values has been defined here, it is based on the standard atmospheric condition, means as 27 kV, 27 degree at temperature, means dry temperature. Pressure is 1 millibar, 1013 millibar, that is 1 bar, or otherwise if we talk in terms of mm of Hg, that is 765 mm of Hg. The meaning is that at sea level, whatever pressure is that at sea level, that we have considered, and absolute humidity is considered as 7 gram per meter cube. If it is international standard, then the temperature is considered as, instead of 27, it is considered 27 kV, 27 degree. Pressure is same 760 mm of Hg, and absolute humidity is considered 11 gram per meter cube. Now, whenever we do the testing in the laboratory, this condition may not be there. You know, in summer, our temperature goes above 40, means 45 degree also, it reaches up to 45 degree at outside. So in the laboratory, naturally, the temperature would be nearly 38, 37 degree. In winter, if we talk, in the Baroda or in Gujarat region or in India, we reach up to 10 degrees, sometimes 15 degrees, depends on the location. If we are not talking about the Jammu and Kashmir, but normally our temperature reaches up to lowest is 10 degree or 8 degree. In case of Rajasthan, somewhere it is 1 degree also it reaches. So the meaning is that whenever we do the testing, at that time this temperature, pressure and humidity may not be same as this. So, however, but whatever test voltage is defined, it is based on the standard atmospheric condition. So because of that, what we do means standard has suggested to apply the correction factor. So depends on the atmospheric condition. To correct with the atmospheric condition to the given test voltage, we'll have to apply the correction factor. Now this correction factor there are two correction factors we have to apply: air density correction factor, and second one is the humidity correction factor. There are very simple method is given in the standard. Majority of all standard or method of high voltage testing techniques, they have given the graphs and formula. So based on that formula, we can correct the test voltage. The meaning is that if we'll have to apply the 28 kV, so against that we sometimes, depends on the atmospheric condition, we'll have to apply 29 kV, or sometimes we have to apply 26 kV or 27 kV. So depends on the atmospheric condition, we'll have to apply the correction factor on the test voltage, and then we'll have to do the high voltage testing. Now this high voltage testing may be of any product. These are the formulas to apply the air density correction factor. This maybe you might have studied in the high voltage testing book that Kamarajan and Naidu, some formulas they have also given. And even in C.L. Wadhwa and Kufel and Jingle also, some of the formulas they have given. But this formula I have taken from the Indian standard. So depends on the atmospheric condition, this factor may be little bit different from the books. But this is the standard way to apply the correction factor. Similarly, this one is to apply the air density correction factor, and if we wish to apply the humidity correction factor, then simply we have to see the value from the graph and we can apply the humidity correction factor. Let me give you, if our standard temperature, dry temperature is 25 degree and wet temperature is 20 degree, then we can 25 and 20 degree like this, we can match, and here it is 40 degree and absolute air humidity is 15 gram per meter cube. So just we'll have to see this 15 gram per meter cube, and based on that, here it is the correction factor is given. So if it is 15 gram per meter cube and correspond, there are three graphs they have given. One is for HVDC. So if we perform the high voltage DC test, second one is the HVAC. So if we perform this continue line is where the dark line is for HVAC and dotted line is for the impulse. So whatever test we are performing, based on that we have to apply the correction factor. Here our humidity based on 25 and whatever temperature I told you, 25 and 25 and 22. So based on that, humidity is 15 gram per meter cube. So we'll have to see here. So we can say the approximately the correction factor is 1.05. That is the humidity correction factor. So so like that we can apply the correction factor, and finally what we have to do that we'll have to multiply the air density correction factor as well as the humidity correction factor, and then we'll have to find out the final correction factor. Now remember, somewhere in the IEC they have given the formula a little bit different, and that is why as per if you calculate the correction factor as per IEC, then K1 and K2 they mention as a humidity factor as K2 and air density correction factor as K1. So they have given the formula in different way and graphs in different way. So whenever we apply the correction factor, they have given the final correction factor as K1 by K2. And if you do the correction factor as per IEC, as per IEC Indian standard, where I have mentioned here, so there the correction factor is given as K1 multiplied by K2. But finally the product will remain same, whether you do K1 by K2 or maybe do K1 by K1 into K2, because their graphs pattern is different. But final correction factor is same, will be same. So whatever final correction factor comes, we'll have to apply that correction factor, and then we'll have to apply the voltage. So this all was depends on the based on the correction factor. And why I have mentioned here, because whenever we do the testing of high voltage testing, when we select the voltage from the table which I have shown, so on that table directly we don't apply the voltage. We apply the correction factor, and that's why those voltage may be little bit different. Now one more thing, let me clear you that this correction factor is applicable where the insulation is directly exposed to the atmosphere. Let me give you the clear little bit more idea that if we do the testing of insulator, now insulators are directly exposed to the atmosphere. So whenever we do the high voltage testing of the insulator, we'll have to apply the correction factor. On the other hand, if I do the high voltage testing, whether it is lightning impulse or switching impulse or power frequency voltage, whatever voltage, on the transformer, in that case we need not apply the correction factor, because the transformer is hermetically sealed sealed. So whatever insulation provided inside the transformer, there the atmospheric condition will not affect, whether it is the temperature is high or temperature is low, humidity is high or humidity is low. The atmospheric condition will not affect on the insulating media of the transformer, and that's why in case of transformer we don't apply correction factor. This has been given in the particular Indian standard of the transformer and particular Indian standard of insulator. You please remember that whatever insulation is directly exposed to the atmospheric condition, this atmosphere, where the external atmosphere affects the insulation characteristics of the sample or particular insulation, there we'll have to apply the correction factor. Otherwise, we need not apply the correction factor. Like transformer. Now, whenever we do the high voltage testing, we require some of the equipment to perform the high voltage testing. So in the laboratory, we'll have to generate the high voltage. Similarly, we'll have to generate the HVAC, HVDC or lightning impulse voltages in the laboratory. So there are various ways to generate the AC high voltage in the laboratory. So first is the AC generation. So there are two ways to generate the AC high voltage. The first one, that is the conventional transformer, and second way is the series resonant transformer. Now please remember, this high voltage transformer or testing transformer are different than the conventional means distribution transformer or power transformer. How these transformers are different, that I will tell you shortly. See, this is the way how it is different than the normal transformer or power transformer or distribution transformer. See, first of all, it has having a very low VA rating. If you see the distribution transformer, it is rated 25 kVA, 100 kVA, 500 kVA, 630 kVA. Or if you look, the power transformer ratings are in terms of MVA. So here the VA rating is very low. Means current is very low. Few ampere or milliampere, means 0.1 ampere, 1 ampere, 2 ampere. That's all, not more than that. The reason is that, as in the starting of the lecture, I told you, whenever we perform the high voltage testing, it is the testing of insulation. So here also, so same principle is applicable here, because whenever we apply the voltage, it is across the insulation only. And when we apply the voltage to the insulation, there will be only the leakage current or capacitive current only flow through will draw from the source. And that is the reason here the kVA rating of the transformer is very low. So hardly, if you take the high voltage transformer of 300 kV, 500 kV, the rating is only 0.1 ampere. So if you do that, only 50 kVA rating is there, but voltage rating is 500 kV. On the other hand, if you see the power transformer, rating is MVA. Second requirement is it should be the harmonics free. The transformer should not have any harmonics generated inside the transformer windings. The reason is that if there is a harmonics in the transformer, then it may affect in the measurements. So that is why the transformer should be harmonics free. Third one, it should be the corona free and PD free, because in high voltage testing, we do the PD measurement also. So if there is a PD or harmonics free, the harmonics are generated by the corona is generated by the transformer, then we may not be able to test the products for the PD test. Similarly, RIV, it should not generate any radio interference noise in the laboratory. And last one, and very important, that it should be capable to withstand the dead short circuits. Normal transformers are not capable to withstand such type of things. But here in the laboratory, whatever transformer we are using to do the high voltage testing, it should have the withstand capability against the dead short circuit. It is because whenever we do the experiment or whenever we do the testing of high voltage products, you know that whenever we do the testing, there are only two possibilities. Either the products will pass or products gets failed. And if the product gets failed, it should not happen that source transformer is also failed. So that's why whatever testing transformer we are using, it should be capable to withstand the dead short circuits. Whenever product fail, it will convert into dead short circuit. See, I am at slide number 16. Hope this figure is visible to you. Here, the picture is there, which we are having at ERDA, the source, which is having the 600 kV. And there are two units you can see. This is the first unit, this is the second unit. And the rating of the unit is 300 plus 300. So the total rating of this high voltage transformer is 600 kV and current rating is only 3 ampere. But to have 600 kV, 3 ampere is we can say it's a very big source or large source, high voltage source. Similarly, one more thing that I was telling, the conventional transformer and resonant transformer. So this is type of series resonant transformer, and series resonant transformer means it will work based on the series resonance condition. The meaning is that the advantage of such type of product is that with low voltage we can generate very high voltage. So here we have one source of high voltage which is having 3.3 kV to 80 kV. So with this 80 kV, we can resonate this circuit and we can generate up to 600 kV. So here only the reactor is there. And we'll have to tune the reactor such a way that XL becomes XC. Means inductive reactance of this transformer should be equal to this test object, the capacitance of the test object. Means XL become XC, and whenever this condition occurs, the series resonance creates in the circuit, and based on that we can generate high voltage. The beauty of this source is these are the filters which are used to, so that the harmonic should not be there, PD is not there, corona is not there, and we have this source at multi-frequency. Means we can vary the frequency from 40 Hertz to 150 Hertz. So that is the beauty, and such type of source is only in India is available at IRDA only. Nowhere else such type of source is available with such wide frequency range, the 600 kV voltage range, and PD-free transformer of 3 ampere. So this was the example of the series resonance circuit which in the laboratory people are using to test the high voltage AC power frequency test, PD test or RIV test or visible corona test. Second requirement is the impulse voltage generation. And see, impulse voltage generation are, as you know, it can be generated with the Marx circuit. A very simple circuit is a combination of resistance and capacitance. This is the picture of the Marx circuit or impulse voltage generator people used in the laboratory. Here I have shown the source which is having the IRDA is having, it is 1600 kV peak source. And here there is one more picture I have added, which is rating of 3000 kV impulse voltage generator and 3000 kV voltage divider. These voltage dividers are used for the measurement of the test voltage, and this impulse voltage generator are used to generate the lightning impulses in the laboratory, as well as same source can be used to generate the switching impulse in the laboratory. If we wanted to measure the test voltage, then AC test voltage we can measure in the laboratory by potential transformer, peak voltmeter with the potential divider, and sphere gauge. In the laboratory, basically people are using peak voltmeter with the voltage divider because it has having the less accuracy, so better accuracy. Potential transformer are also having the better accuracy, but not for the entire range. And peak voltmeter is the cheaper solution and having the accurate measurement throughout the range of voltage, like 100 kV voltage divider is there, then from 1 kV to 100 kV accuracy remains same. So popularly people are using peak voltmeter with potential divider. This voltage divider we are using for the voltage measurement in the laboratory. Sphere gauge earlier days people were using, but it is time consuming and less accurate compared to peak voltmeter and potential transformer. So nowadays in the laboratory nobody uses the sphere gauge measurement. If we wish to measure the impulse voltage measurement, then again peak voltmeter with the potential divider and sphere gauge. As I said, sphere gauge can be used to measurement of the impulse voltages also, but it is the time consuming process and less accurate, so people use peak voltmeter in the laboratory for the voltage measurement. So this was about the generation and measurement in the laboratory. Now let me tell you about some of the high voltage testing which we carry out in the laboratory. So the high voltage testing, as I said, it is the basically testing of the insulating media, and that's why people normally call it as a dielectric test also, because we check the dielectric property of the insulation. So that's why popularly these tests are known as dielectric test also. The other name of high voltage testing is the dielectric test. And basically this in the laboratory we do to check the withstand capability of the insulations against the TOV, means temporary over voltages, LI means lightning impulse voltages, and SI means switching impulse voltages. Secondly, we perform this high voltage test to check the partial discharge in the insulation, because partial discharge is very much critical for the insulation. So whenever there is a insulation is provided, if there is a partial discharge in the insulation, then over a time period this partial discharge will increase day by day, and then finally this partial discharge will convert into the complete discharges. And that's why with this mechanism insulation may get damaged. So that's why we don't want any partial discharges in the insulation. And to check that, we have to perform the partial discharge measurement. Third one, that is to determine the flashover value and maximum withstand value. So this test particularly we do it for the insulation media like a transformer bushings or otherwise insulators. And condition monitoring of the equipment. Some of the high voltage test, we do it to check the condition monitoring of the insulation system. And one test we perform, that is the C and tan delta measurement. That is capacitance measurement and tan delta measurement of the insulation media. By that, we can know the condition of the insulation. So, in the laboratory, such type of waveforms we are using to check the insulation property. Like first one, that is the temporary over voltages. Actual waveform of the temporary over voltages in the power system is like this. But in the laboratory, we use the power frequency voltage, that is the 50 hertz only. Similarly, the switching phenomena, this is the origin by, as I told you, by the switching phenomena in the power system, with the switching over voltages will generate. And the waveform of the switching over voltages are like this. But in the laboratory, we use 100 by 2500 or 250 microsecond by 2500 microsecond in the laboratory. Similarly, lightning pulses are like this in the system. In the laboratory, we use 1.2 by 50 microsecond. And chopped very fast transients are like this. And to check that, we use the chopped wave. We use standard has defined such waveforms. And that's why in the laboratory, people are using such type of waveforms. And these waveforms and high voltages are generated, as I told you, first one, that is the conventional transformer, or otherwise the series resonance circuits are used to generate such type of waveform. This 100 by 2500 and 1.2 by 500 microsecond, and these three are used by the impulse voltage generator. We can generate with the impulse voltage generator. And any of the waveforms like 100 by 2500 microsecond also we can generate with the impulse voltage generator by changing the modification in the circuit. Similarly, 1.2 by 50 also we can generate by changing the resistance and capacitor combinations. This chopped wave in the laboratory we use impulse voltage generator only, but there is one more device is used to generate the chopped wave, that is a multiple chopping gap. These external gaps are there by which this flashover can be occurred. So in the laboratory we can generate all these three waveforms, four waveforms. Whenever we do the high voltage testing, as I told you, there are 3-4 tests. Basically, we are using we are performing all the products. And the first one, that is the test with the AC high voltages. And the popular name or standard name is HVAC power frequency voltage test. Basically, it is HVAC test, but in the standard, it is named as power frequency voltage test. And why it is high voltage power frequency test called? Because we perform it at power frequency only, means 50 hertz only. We don't change the frequency. We generate high voltage at same frequency, means fundamental frequency only. And that is why it is called as a high voltage power frequency test. Whenever we perform this test, it is to be performed in two ways. One is the dry way, under dry condition. Second one is under wet condition. Now, as you know, this test is conducted to check the withstand capability of the insulation against temporary over voltages. Now, and since beginning, I told you that the equipment, whenever is installed in the power system, there are chances of temporary over voltages. Now, these temporary over voltages may occur under rainy season also. So, whenever there is a rainy season, there is under rain condition, if temporary over voltages arises, then how the equipments behave or how the insulation behaves. To check that, basically all the outdoor equipments like a current transformer, potential transformer, insulators, bushings, only transformer is not there because it's a hermetically sealed. But in case of bushings, this weight test is also applicable. The weight test means under artificial rainfall condition, we apply the high voltage. That is the difference between dry and wet. Again, these dry and wet tests are conducted in two ways. One is the withstand voltage and second is the flashover. We'll see how these both are conducted. Second one, that is the lightning impulse voltage withstand test we conduct in the laboratory to check the withstand capability against the surge voltages. Again, these are conducted into the two way, that is a withstand, either withstand value and flashover value. Again, the withstand test is conducted in two way, that is the full wave as well as the chopped wave. I will show you how the chopped wave is there and full wave is also generated in the how we do the testing. Third one, that is the switching impulse voltage withstand test. But here switching over voltage withstand test, please remember it is applicable above 245 kV, 245 kV onwards. Earlier it was applicable 300 kV above, but nowadays it is applicable as per the revised standard. Switching impulse voltages are applicable from 220 kV onwards, means 245 kV product is applicable. And it has to be conducted under dry condition as well as the wet test. Under wet condition also this test has to be conducted. Now, whenever we perform the AC high voltage test in the laboratory under dry condition, the method which we do, that first of all it has to be conducted for 1 minute, and the test voltage which we apply, it has to be kV peak by root 2, means RMS value only we apply, but measurement whatever we do, we detect the peak, and peak by root 2, that comes the RMS value. Now why we do like this, or why standard tells that we'll have to do the kV peak by root 2? Because to avoid the harmonics. If there is a harmonics in the system, then we may get the false reading, or maybe voltage may not be accurate. So that's why to bring the accuracy as low as possible, or as much as the accurate measurement, we do the kV peak by root 2. Now please remember, whatever source we are using, at the beginning I told you, just few minutes back I told you, the source we should be the harmonics free. And harmonics free means that should not be more than 3% of harmonics. Again, for the measurement also we are doing the kV peak by root 2. We are not directly measuring the RMS value. So that's why harmonics is taken care by this kV peak by root 2 measure. Whatever, suppose there is 1% harmonics is that will be also eliminated by kV peak by root 2 measurement. And that is the reason we are detecting the peak and then we measure the test voltage. The instruments are having such facility of the measurements. Secondly, the frequency which we keep to perform the power frequency voltage is 50 Hz. As I told you, that's why it is called as a power frequency voltage. Here the one more important factor is that the rate of rise will have to maintain, and it has to be 2 kV per second. We cannot keep slow or we cannot keep more. Standard has defined that 2 kV per second rate of rise will have to maintain. If we keep more, then it moves towards the surge voltages. So that's why the high voltage, this rate of rise should be 2 kV per second will have to maintain. The test duration is 1 minute. As I told you, this test is conducted to check the temporary over voltage withstand capability. Now temporary over voltages in the system are maybe for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, that's all, not more than that. So that's why here the test voltage standard is defined 1 minute, that is 60 seconds. And there should not be any flash over while we perform the test, or other abnormality condition is there should not be any inside there is a puncture or visible noise or partial, nothing has to be there. Then only we can say the product is passed. If it is a flash over, then the panel will get automatically tripped and we can come to know that product has failed. Sometimes flash over we can see visibly also that flash over or disruptive discharge has occurred across the product. So that way we can find out whether the product is withstanding this test or not. Similarly, the flash over in AC power frequency, again here the voltage measurement is kV peak by root 2, frequency is 50 and rate of rise we keep 2 kV per second. But here what we do, we measure the flashover value to be determined, means we slowly increase the voltage till the flashover or disruptive discharge occurs, and that value will have to record, and that is called as a flashover value. This test particularly applicable on insulators only, because in case of insulator, people wanted to know the maximum withstand capability or what is the flashover value. In case of transformers, CTs, PTs, this test is not applicable because insulators are self-restoring type insulations are there. So that is why this test is applicable on insulators only. If we perform such type of test in the case of transformer, then insulation provided inside the transformer, that paper insulation or oil, it has got punctured, then it is no meaning. So that's why such type of test is not applicable on the transformer. It is applicable only for the insulators. Now, as I told you, the wet test is also applicable on the outdoor equipment like insulators, isolators and circuit breaker. So under rainy condition, means under artificial rainfall condition, we apply the voltage The method is same as the dry power frequency voltage withstand test. Only thing, here we apply the voltage under rain, artificial rain. Again, voltage measurement is kV peak by root 2. Tolerance of the test voltage should be plus minus 1%. The meaning is that if we wish to apply 28 kV, then the voltage should be 28 plus minus 1% throughout 1 minute. It should not more than 1% variation. And weight test parameter, that precipitation rate means the falling of the water. That water should not fall. The rate of the water should be 1 to 2 mm per minute. So we'll have to measure the voltage in 1 or 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then we'll have to set the parameter, rain parameter. Then only we can apply the voltage. So as per the standard, the rain parameter should be, precipitation rate of the rain should be 1 mm to 2 mm per minute. Water conductivity we'll have to maintain. It should be the 100 Siemens, microsiemens. And water temperature should be at the normal temperature, whatever ambient temperature is that. So the meaning is that we did not give the hot water or cold water on the object. We'll have to apply the normal temperature water only. And frequency is 50 Hz only, and test duration is 1 minute. Again, the decision criteria is same as the dry power frequency. There should not be any abnormal condition or no flashover. Sometimes what has happened when we perform such test, sometimes insulator gets cracked or otherwise puncture also during this test. Now, after power frequency, AC voltage, dry and wet, if we talk about the lightning impulse in the laboratory, so such type of impulse, as I showed you in few minutes back, so in the laboratory, we are using such type of waveform, that is 1.2 by 50 microsecond. The meaning of this 1.2 by 50, this graph is time versus voltage versus time. So on the y-axis, it is the voltage, and x-axis is the time in microsecond. And there are three parameters we have to maintain in the laboratory. One is the front time or front wave front we can tell. Second is the wave tail or tail time, and third one is the peak magnitude. The time is, front time is time required to reach the peak value, means whatever time from here to here is measurement is takes, that is called as the front time. Here that is 30%, 90% is marked here, because as per standard we have to measure the 30% and 90%, and then we'll have to multiply by 1.67 to measure the front time. Similarly, this is the peak value, and this is the T2. T2 means time required to reach the 50% of the peak. Here it is mentioned 0.5. So these three parameters we'll have to maintain. 1.2 is the front time, 50 microsecond is the tail time, and peak magnitude, whatever I have shown the table, like 75, 145 or 275, that we have to select from the table, depends on the voltage rating. So test voltage depends on the voltage rating. Wave shape should be 1.2 by 50 microsecond. But you know that always in the laboratory exact 1.2 by 50 microsecond or whatever exact value may not be possible. So tolerance is given in the test voltage plus minus 3%. In the front time, the tolerance is given plus minus 30%. And T2, that is the tail time, tolerance is given plus minus 20%. When we do the testing, we'll have to do both the polarities, that is positive as well as negative. This waveform is shown in the positive. Similarly, the negative polarity means waveform will be in the reverse. So both the polarity waveform we have to apply on the object. And decision criteria, again, there should not be any flashover or no other abnormality should be observed during the test. Then only we can say product has withstand the lightning impulse or not. There are 2-3 methods to perform the impulse voltages in the laboratory. Standard is given, there are 4 methods. So depends on the product we can select, and product standard is given the method, what method we have to adopt. There are first method that is called as the procedure A. In that 3 positive, 3 negative pulses we have to apply. If we follow the procedure B, then 15 pulses we have to apply, 15 positive, 15 negative. That means 30 shots we have to apply on the product. This is more critical. Procedure C, the 3 positive and 3 negative. Now here the procedure is almost same as A, but here they have given the provision that the additional shot if the failure occurs in the one shot. If there is a failure on any one shot, then additional Further test has to be repeated, and if it is passed, then it is called as a pass. Whereas in procedure A, they have not given any provision. If there is a one shot is failure, then it has to be declared as a fail. That's fundamental. Then procedure C. In procedure C, additional shot, if they have given the provision that if there is a failure, then additional shot we can apply. Procedure D is given that value to be determined, means flashover will have to find out. मैं वो एक वेबिनार में છું હું 10 મિનિટ પછી કોલ કરું તમને 10 મિનિટ પછી. In the procedure D, we'll have to find out the value. Now, as I told you, in the withstand value, chopped wave is also there. So this is the chopped wave which we are using in the laboratory. So here we'll have to apply the test voltage, and chopping time we'll have to maintain 2 to 5 microseconds. And polarity always in case of chopping, it is most of the time it is negative polarity, not positive polarity. And whenever there is a chopping occurs, only single polarity test is enough. This is the chopped wave which I have mentioned in the positive polarity, but if we do it in negative, then it is like this in the reverse way. Now this is the chopping time TC, means from the instant voltage starts collapsing. Here I have given the waveform while we do the impulse testing. This is the impulse waveform. So after reaching peak, gradually it falls to 0. So these, if such type of waveforms we get, then we can say product is passed in the impulse test. But here you can see after reaching peak, suddenly voltage collapse. This voltage drops back to the 0. So this is the indication of the failure. So by studying the waveform, we can tell whether the product is passing or failing. This is only one example I have taken. There are many examples of the waveforms are there, which represent the various types of failures. Now, whenever we find out the flashover value, standard has given two methods, that is multiple level test and up and down method. Multiple level means gradually we increase the voltage till we find out the flashover value. Up and down method means, let's say we gradually increase the voltage up to 100 kV and product fail at 105 kV. Then again we'll have to reduce the voltage 5%, that is 100 voltage, 100 kV, and we see whether the product is withstanding or not. If we found the withstand, then again we'll have to increase the voltage. If there is a failure occur, again we'll have to decrease the voltage. Like this, up and down, we'll have to do the up and down. By 30 shots we'll have to apply, and we'll have to find out the average value. So both the methods we can use, depends on the requirement. Then similarly, switching impulse voltage withstand test we'll have to perform in the laboratory. This test is almost similar to the lightning impulse only. Method is almost same. Only thing here, the duration is different. Time duration is different. Otherwise, waveform looks like the same, but this time scale is different. Here the 50 microsecond, it was at 10 microsecond. And these are the parameters which we'll have to maintain during the switching impulse. The wave shape is 250 microsecond by 2500 microsecond we'll have to maintain. The meaning is that front time should be 250 microsecond and tail time is 2500 microsecond. Again, here also tolerance is given in the magnitude 3%, but in the T1 plus minus 20% means this 250 plus minus 20% time we'll have to achieve. In T2, there is a large tolerance is given 60 microsecond, because whenever there is in the switching, we perform the switching and we found out the flashover or this large variation is found in the flashover value also. So that is the reason this T2 is given very high. Tolerance in the T2 is given very high. And whenever we do the switching impulse on the transformer, it is little bit critical. And where there is a magnetic circuit, in case of transformer, magnetic circuit is there. And here the duration is 250 microsecond by 2005 microsecond, means millisecond. So there are chances of core saturation of the transformer. And that is why whenever we perform the switching impulse voltage withstand test on the transformer, so we'll have to apply the reverse polarity. So method is like this. First we apply the negative polarity of voltage. Then again we have to apply the positive polarity of 60% to avoid the core saturation. Otherwise, if we continue apply the same polarity pulses, then there are chances to get the core saturation of the transformer. So this care we have to take while we perform the switching impulse voltage withstand test where magnetic circuit involved. And similarly, when the magnetic circuit involved, we may not get this 250 by 2000 microsecond because of the saturation of the core or magnetic presence of magnetic circuit. So standard is given different timings for the transformer, not this. Again, here there are three procedures they have given in case of switching, like 3 positive, 3 negative. Procedure B is the 15 positive, 15 negative, and procedure C, that is 3 positive, 3 negative with additional short if failure occur in the one shot. Here there is no method D, means flashover value we don't determine, and standard is not given the find out the switching flashover value. Okay, so this was about the high voltage testing of power frequency and switching impulse voltage withstand test and lightning impulse. Now again, as I told you, the partial discharge test is also conducted in the laboratory. This test is conducted as a type test, a routine test, not type test. Earlier we have seen the lightning impulse and switching impulse, those are conducted as a type test. And power frequency test we conduct as a routine test. Wherever we do the testing, it is divided into 2-3 categories: routine test, type test, and acceptance test. Routine test means it has to be conducted on the all product. Type test means it proves the design only. So if the design is similar, we'll have to perform only on one unit only. So that is the difference between type test and routine test. Acceptance test means depends on it has to be conducted on the lot wise. So let's say we have produced the 100 numbers of unit. Out of that, we'll have to select just randomly the sample, and then few tests we have to conduct on that particular samples. And if those samples are passed, then entire batch is passed for that particular test, and that's why it is called as the acceptance test. So we'll have to accept the lot or not. So partial discharge test we conduct as a routine test, and it is to find out the deterioration or failure due to the internal discharges. This test has to be conducted. The basic requirement of the PD test, we require the Faraday cage. Faraday cage means shielded room we required, because PD test is very sensitive test, and if there is external noise is there, that also can disturb our measurement, and that's why we require the Faraday cage, or in other words we call it as a shielding room, so that external noise we can suppress. Basically we require the PD-free source, obviously, because, and the meaning of PD-free means it should not have the partial discharge more than 2 PC. Partial discharge we measure, this is electrical partial discharge, so we measure in terms of PC, picocoulomb, and sensitivity of the circuit which we use should be having the less than 5 picocoulomb. Means less than 5 picocoulomb also we should able to measure. This is the basic circuit which we are using in the laboratory. So as I told you, we perform this test under shielded room. So this is the Faraday cage, this dotted line which we have shown. Here 1 number and 2 number is the source, then isolation transformer. This is the high voltage transformer. And then we are using the filters. So if there is a partial discharge or harmonics in the source, it can be filtered out. And then this is the coupling capacitor, 6 number is the coupling capacitor, through which we measure the partial discharge through dotted line. This 10 number and this 11 number is the PD meter, this 10 number is the PD meter on which we measure the partial discharges, and this is the test object, CT, that is the test object. And everything is on the common ground. So this line is shown is the common ground of high voltage transformer, as a coupling capacitor, this partial discharge meter, and test object, everything at common ground. And everything is kept inside the shielding room except these filters and isolation transformer. So this is a very typical, the photograph which I have shown of ERDA, this is inside the partial discharge room. Finally, final test is capacitance and time delta. As I told you, an ideal capacitor, then it should not pass the DC current, and current leads voltage by 90 degree and having zero dissipation factor. So this is the vector diagram, and this is the capacitance and this is the resistance. So if ideal capacitor is there, then current leads voltage by 90 degree, and then as soon as this resistance is increased, the moisture increase in the resistance, then this resistive current is also gets increased, and because of that, this resultant current is getting changed. Angle is getting changed. This is the total current, IC plus IR, and because of that, this angle is getting increased. So as soon as the moisture is increased in the insulation, this angle is getting increase and increase. So this is the indication of the, so tan delta is getting increased. So the lesser tan delta is better and higher tan delta is poor for the insulation. It indicates the poor insulation is poor or moisture is there in the insulation. And so that's how we can measure the quality of the insulation by measurement of capacitance and tan delta. In the laboratory, one more test we perform, that is the radio interference measurement. This radio interference measurement basically we used to check whether radio noises are generated by the product or not. If radio noises are generated by any electrical product, then it will disturb in the radio signals, and that's why the product should not generate the radio noise. So that's why we'll have to perform the radio interference measurement, and we'll have to measure the radio interference noise generated by the electrical products. The interference voltage should not exceed more than 2500 microvolt. That is the decision criteria. Similarly, corona noise also we can measure. Corona is almost similar as a partial discharge. Corona is the external phenomena, means on the surface is occur, whereas the partial discharge are occur on the inside the insulation. So to check the partial discharge inside the insulation, we will need to measure the partial discharge in terms of picocoulomb, whereas external PD is there, so we can measure by the corona. These are the photographs which we have taken in the laboratory of one of the high voltage product. We have measured the corona, visible corona. So these are the indication of the visible corona. In the theory, you must have studied that it has the bluish typical smell and bluish noise, bluish in nature. Means visibly it's a bluish violet glow. So this is the indication of that. This is the one of the experiment which carry out on the uniform field, where we increase the voltage till we get the corona inception. So that we have taken in the picture. So corona discharges from the conductors and hardware may cause the audible noise and radio noises. So if you see any transmission line, there you see some corona noises, corona discharges. This should not happen, and that's why to reduce that bundling of the conductor is also done to reduce the radio noises. And radio noises should not be there, otherwise it will create a noise in the, or it will affect the radio signals. So that's why corona noise should not be there. So that was about the corona. So everything I have covered. I have covered the lightning impulse, then high voltage power frequency. Just let me give you 1 minute brief what I have covered. We have covered the types of insulation, that is the self-restoring type insulation, non-self-restoring type insulation. Then we have seen how the various types of high voltage generated in the system, that is internally generated over voltages and externally generated over voltages. And that is why whatever insulation we provide on the equipment or electrical product should have generate such type of over voltages, like temporary over voltages, lightning impulse voltages, or otherwise switching over voltages. Then we have seen how we generate the over voltages in the laboratory. So basically we use either conventional transformer or otherwise resonant transformer to generate the AC high voltages. Similarly, we use the voltage divider with peak voltmeter. We can use sphere gaps also for the measurement, but in the laboratory to measure the AC high voltages, we use peak voltmeter plus voltage divider because of the better accuracy. Then in the laboratory, how we generate the lightning impulses or switching over voltages, that also we have seen. We generate with the Mark circuit, lightning impulse voltage and switching impulse voltages. Similarly, we use the impulse voltage divider for the voltage measurement. Then we have seen the AC high voltage power frequency test, how we conduct in the laboratory. Similarly, we have seen the weight power frequency voltage withstand test, how we conduct in the laboratory. This both test we conduct for the 1 minute power frequency and at 28 kV, and if it is 12 kV, We have seen the one table where mentioning the basic insulation level for various voltage level, that also we have seen. Similarly, we have seen the application of the correction factor, and we have seen why we apply the correction factor. Because whatever basic insulation level is defined in the standard, it has got at standard atmospheric condition. But in the laboratory, when we conduct those tests, all these tests, at that time the temperature or weather condition may be different. To overcome that, we apply the correction factor. So we have seen the air density correction factor, how we apply. That is simple formula is that. And then humidity correction factor, how we can calculate. For that, two graphs I have shown you. And then we have seen the AC power frequency conduction, how we conduct in the laboratory. We conduct for the 1 minute power, 1 minute duration. Similarly, we have seen the wet power frequency test, how we conduct in the laboratory. It is same as the dry power frequency test. Only thing we perform the test under wet condition. And we have seen the flashover, how we perform the flashover test. Simply we have to gradually increase the voltage till the flashover occurs, and we have to record that value. Then we have seen the lightning impulse voltage withstand capability, how we check the lightning impulse voltage withstand capability. There we have seen four methods: procedure A, procedure B, procedure C, and procedure D. As per procedure A, we'll have to apply 3 positive, 3 negative pulses. Procedure B says that we'll have to apply 15 positive and 15 negative pulses. Procedure C is tell at like we'll have to apply 3 positive, 3 negative. But if there is a flashover, then additional shot we can apply. And procedure D is tell that we'll have to derive the voltage, determine the voltage by increasing the voltage. Similarly, we have seen the switching impulse voltage withstand test, that 250 by 2500 microsecond we apply on the test object. Here I have told you that if it is a magnetic circuit involved, like a transformer, when we perform the switching impulse test on transformer, then we'll have to apply the reduce first one polarity, then reverse polarity. We'll have to again apply the voltage 50% at the reverse polarity to avoid the core saturation. Then we have seen the partial discharge measurement. Here I told you that partial discharge measurement has to be done under the shielded room, because to avoid the external noises. And partial discharge test is very sensitive, so very low partial discharge is also there. So to check that, we require the very highly sensitive circuit and shielding room. Then we have seen the radio interference measurement, how we do the radio interference measurement. We have seen capacitance and tan delta measurement also. I have only 1122 slides only I have included because of 1 hour time duration. Otherwise, we can talk a little bit more on each test. But because of only I have touched upon the whatever basic tests are applicable on all electrical products that I have touched. Then finally, we have seen the visible corona test, which we perform in the laboratory. This test is also similar to the AC high voltage only. Only thing we'll have to increase the voltage till corona incept, and then we'll have to decrease the voltage till the corona extinguish. So this is very similar test. If you get the chance to visit anytime ERDA, you may please visit, because ERDA conduct the open house also, and based on the college requisition, they allow the college students to visit ERDA. So here you can see the facility, and one of the best high voltage test facilities available at ERDA, which is available in India, one of the best of India, this laboratory. So you can visit and you can see various high voltage test facility available at ERDA. So with this, but you can have the question. Definitely, I would like to ask the answer, give you the answers.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Question right now. So let's say in terms of failure of insulation,
Yeah.
we have two parameters, like one is called as flashover and one is called as puncture. So
Yeah.
what is the difference between this flashover and puncture in terms of failure of insulation?
Okay, fine. See, first let us talk about the flashover. This flashover and puncture, both we can call as a disruptive discharge. But whenever there is a disruptive discharge over the surface, then it is called as a flashover. And when there is a disruptive discharge occur inside the body of the insulation, then it is called as a puncture. And when there is a flashover occurs, after flashover, insulating media may not lose its original property. Means insulating property it will not lose. But if puncture occurs, it will lose its dielectric property. So basically it is if from the inside the insulating material it is puncture. If on the surface then it is called as flash hole.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes, sir. And the second question is